I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to the Smallville Retrospective. We're in Season 2, Episode 21. 22? 21. 22. 22. Calling. This episode wasn't that bad. I actually liked it quite a bit. But something happened towards the end that just made me... I threw my fidget spinner at the tin. Because I just went, God damn it, and I threw it. Because if you know what I've been bitching about, especially in the last episode, stop it, you probably know what it's going to be. But we go to the episode. Okay, I have to, hold on. That's the thing. I have to get rid of it. I'm going to keep fidgeting with it. And you guys are going to get, why does it keep doing that? Sorry, it's a fidget spinner, that's why. I am autistic. It helps. Anyway, in this episode, Lex and Helen's wedding is looming. They're having a rehearsal dinner. Clark is the best man, of course. And it's also Clark's birthday at the beginning of this episode. And so the rehearsal dinner thing. But Clark is getting messages, like, that sound is happening again. And Dr. Walden is woken up from his coma and is on a crusade to kill Clark. He believes Clark is the last son, and it is determined that the last son will conquer us all, apparently. And, yeah. In the B plot, in one of the side plots, someone has broken into Helen's lab and stolen the blood sample of Clark's blood, which leads to something very conflicting. We'll talk about it. And also, Lionel has approached Chloe with a deal to get her that column in the Daily Planet. So, let's talk about this episode. So we start with Clark's birthday. Clark is there in his loft, and Lana shows up with a cake with the candles. Apparently it was very hot on set. There's bloopers, but she tried to light it. She's burning herself, and then they had to do a scene holding it, and it's very hot, apparently. But Clark and Lana had their first kiss here, although it's not their first kiss because they have kissed before, but their first official kiss. But then Lana regrets it the next day. But yeah, Lex shows up to ask the Kents to sit next to the bride and groom, because usually it's the parents, but he's on the house with his dad, and his mom is not with us, and Helen's parents are never mentioned, so he asked the Kents to do it, and they agree. So he agrees, and then we have the scene, like, Jonathan agrees to do it, and they're like, it'll be our honor, Lex. Then Helen gets robbed, and then when Helen goes to talk to him about it, she thinks he stole it. Talks to Jonathan about it. She thinks he stole it, but he throws shade on Lex, like, "Oh, you're with the Luthers." And I find Jonathan so conflicting. How he can simultaneously have respect and disrespect for the guy. He's honored to be sitting by him at the rehearsal dinner, and the wedding, I think. But then he's gonna blame Lex for the theft, which, by the way, spoiler alert, it was Lex. They show him with the blood later. In a weird device that automatically keeps it cool, I guess. I've never seen it before, but you gotta keep it cold with the blood, or it'll coagulate and get it'll dry up, I think, wouldn't it? Once it is exposed to air and the heat, it'll coagulate and dry up and something. But you keep it cold, like you can with any bodily fluid. We'll put it that way. Keep it cold and it stays. That's why, at certain banks for procreation, women can get a sample for procreation. They keep that chilled, I hear. No, I've never donated. Shut up. Anyway, so Lana is reluctant to proceed with this relationship with Clark because, if it doesn't work out, what about their friendship? And to that I say, the hell are you talking about? How many times have you guys argued? So you guys date for a while. Then you break up, and then they'll forget about it. Next episode, you'll be friends again. That guy, the whole thing at the end of Rush, he brought you a flower. You threw it in the trash. You were done with it. For the next episode, how about a job, Clark? I don't know. And it is kind of like that because they're mad at each other for a while, but eventually they come back together again. I don't know. Nice to meet you. His hand's out. But, yeah. Dr. Walden wakes up. He keeps saying, the day is coming, the day is coming, the day is coming. The guy, the lab technician the psychiatrist over that's with him, that's watching over him, I recognize. I couldn't picture him. And then I looked him up. He is the douchebag boyfriend from the Child's Play remake that gets escuppeted by Chucky in the watermelon patch, and his head gets stapled, his face gets stapled to a watermelon and given to Andy. Yeah, that guy, Shane, not that one, but I remembered his name was Shane. Yes, off the top, boop, popped in there, Shane. Yes, he's that guy. A whole episode he keeps popping up. I'm like, where do I know him from? Finally, towards the end when he shows up again, I'm like, I have to find out. So I googled it, and yeah, there's him. So. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Clark is tasked with writing a speech for Lex's rehearsal dinner. And let me tell you something. If I was ever a best man and I was told, hey, you have to write a speech and you have to say this speech in front of everyone, I'd be like, pick another best man. Hey, no offense, it would be an honor to be your best man, but I have to say a speech in front of people. I'm autistic, man. I don't know if I could do that. And you say, well, Scotty, you are talking to people right now. I'm not live, am I? I could technically do a live stream, but I'm nervous that people start showing up. I've done live streams at Big LT, but I wasn't alone. He was there. Then again, I wouldn't be alone there either, but it's still nervous when you stand in front of someone with a microphone and you're like, hey, you know something about this guy? See, I can't even think of something like, Lex and Helen and Lex. See, I can't even think of something off the top of my head to say that was nervous. But I will say this. Clark's speech is actually pretty good. It's very heartwarming. But it also doubles as something else because he's not just talking about Lex and Helen. He is staring right at Lana during this whole speech. And she knows it and she can tell. But, of course, we can't have happy things because he gets the thing again and he has to run off. The key is calling him, so he goes back to the farm where there is Dr. Walden. He's got the thing. So Dr. Walden, after he's wakes from his coma, I'm taking you through Dr. Walden's side plot here. He wakes up from his coma and he ends up in the caves. And he does the thing again, and it changes the words. When Lex tells Clark about it, and then Clark goes to the cave to look for him, and Lionel is there. Something I forgot to mention is that at the end of the last episode, Lionel said that he now has ownership of the caves, which I don't care. It's just a big, who's got the bigger dick fight between these two, father and son, which not really something you should be fighting about. But anyway, Lionel shows up and he's like, oh, that's weird. The words have changed. And he's like, well, Clark, in his self-defense, is like, it's all Kawashi to me. You know, and then he leaves. Then Dr. Walden shows up as soon as they leave. Or no, he doesn't. This is... No. But he shows up at Lex's house later when Lionel is there. And he's like, Lex, I saw it. The last son was coming to conquer us all. It's Clark Kent. We have to kill Clark Kent. And they're like... Lex is like, Dr. Walden, you're lost your mind, you know. And this is where I think they go too heavy into this. With Lex knowing, already Lex knows way too much. He's way too suspicious. And I think that comes with the territory, making Lex Clark's friend instead of waiting till Clark is at the dating planet to meet him. Because in all the stories, he doesn't. I mean, there is comic book stories where Superman is responsible for Lex being bald, which technically that is the case here. But if all we got of Lex Luthor was just the opening of the pilot, and Lionel was the main adversary for Clark during the series, and it wasn't introduced to Lex till later, I think I would be fine with that. Because you think about it, Lex, you could say Lex is away, business stuff, you know, my son is a man who's going to do great things, which you don't ever show him. I think it would work. It's always risky. You know, having Lex as his friend is already changing the lore. So, already you can kind of think it's not going to end up being the same Superman story that we know, but you can still salvage it until they decide to introduce Lois Lane too early. And we will get to that in season 4, because I have always thought that it made no sense that Lois was introduced so soon. They don't meet till after they start working together at Daily Planet. It's confusing. I know, they change the source material all the time. Justice League is together before he's even Superman. It's confusing, but anyway. So Dr. Walden decides to attack Lex and Lionel, but he's not able to because Shen comes in and tranquilizes him. I keep calling him that. And then they take him back to the mental facility, but he escapes and supposedly kills Shen. I'm hoping that he ended up killing them in there. I don't know about hoping, but I'm guessing that was the escape, and that's where Clark meets him at the thing. And so he's trying to, at the barn, and he's trying to kill Clark. He's got this beam, which is just like the symbol that came up when he put the key in there. So I'm trying to think, as I'm watching him blast Clark with this thing, I'm thinking, if Jor-El, his biological father, by the way, wanted him to conquer, why would he create someone for him to fight? It's probably another test, most likely. And I think, without spoiling the future of the show, I think this conquer thing was a test. I think. And they do retcon stuff later. Changed, it was never about conquering. Whatever, like it's a test. Like, you always say hit to defend. Whatever. Even in season 3, they retcon some stuff. Excuse me, we're almost done. Okay. But anyway, not just with this, with the whole, one more episode. Anyway. So, Clark tries to fight, but he's too strong. But, like, for lack of a better term, Walden blows himself up. Basically, burns him to a crisp. He's holding the key at the time, so Clark takes the key from him, but it burns in his hand, which, unfortunately, Lionel sees. That does lead into the finale, so yes. Helen, after the reduced rehearsal dinner, Helen does confront Lex about whether or not he stole, because, okay, so she is looking for stuff and she finds a file on Martha Kent. When she confronts Lex about it, Lex says, well, you know, I got that from the CDC guys. They're not called CDC, but I'm not going to remember what they're called. You mean he bribed them. It's possible, but then again, we do find out he did steal the stuff, so that could be from her office. I don't know. But, she accused him of stealing the blood, which he denies, of course, because losers are incapable of telling the fucking truth. And for all the times that Lex says that his father lies, he's just as guilty of doing it. He's, you know. But then we see that he does have the vial of blood. And I guess their wedding is up in the air, but it's still very close. I don't know. But, yeah. And, there's something else. Oh, yes. The scene that made me throw my fidget spinner at the tin. So Clark is in the loft, and Lana comes to visit him, wearing her dress, and she looks gorgeous, by the way, in that dress. She's a lovely woman. And they have a little conversation, and one thing leads to another. They end up getting together. They kiss, and then the camera starts panning backwards, and I'm like, okay, this is where the episode ends, right? And then I see the back of her head, Chloe's head. And that's when I went, God damn it! And I threw the fidget spinner. I can't. Because there's a scene earlier where I did it again, where it is kind of funny when Pete comes in, but like, this is after they kissed, and he comes in to talk to her. And then Chloe walks up. No, Chloe's already there. Chloe's talking to Lana about where she was, because they lived together. Where she was, and she's like, "Oh, I was working on term paper or something." And then Clark comes walking up, and he's like, "I need a coffee, whatever." He goes, "Oh, you were running in L too?" And he's like, he makes the mistake of looking at Lana, and Lana looking at him, and he's like, "I was working on a speech for Lex's rehearsal dinner." And that's when she has that look on her face, like she knows what happened. And I just went, "Shut the fuck up, Chloe." Now, she doesn't say anything. She just has that look on her face. She's like the last one. Then Pete walks up and just redeems his scene. He starts talking, and he realizes how to have the situation. And he's like, "Hey, damn, who's that?" No, he's like, "Hey, all right." It's awkward. But yeah, I saw this, and I just like, at the end here, and I'm like, God damn it. Because this is the decision. Spoiler alert. This is what fuels her decision to do that. Because, as I mentioned, I forgot to mention this. I did sort of in the synopsis, but Lionel comes to visit her and tells her that her column in the Daily Planet is all set. But he would like a deep profile on Clark Kent. And she refuses to do it. And he basically says, well, you don't do that, you don't get the call, basically. And then she sees this, and this is the catalyst for her to do that. And that does lead into stuff in season 3. But I'm sick of it. It fuels. Season 3 is probably my favorite season. But Chloe's decisions from this point on are all because of her jealousy. She just can't let it go. And especially this watch through, I can't do it. I said that. I'm done with this. I've had enough. I'm over it. I'm through. It's done. I'm done. I cannot do it anymore. I've given it all I've got. I cannot give any more. I cannot give a crap anymore. No more shits to give, Captain. I just don't care. Chloe, go away. It's just too much, right? It's like these two are meant to be, and all of a sudden, like, just like, just what it is. Like this fly that won't leave you alone. It keeps buzzing in your face. That's Chloe. Like, you want to do something on your own, but she just keeps coming back, and she won't stop. But we end, actually, after Lana leaves, and again, I have to question why they didn't hear this. He hears a voice, which we will find out is Jor-El, his birth father, voiced by Terrence Stamp, another Superman alumnus, because he was General Zod. Come, son of Jor-El, kneel before Zod! Bing! So you put these? No. That's from Mallrats, but I know he binks him first, then says that, whatever. And there goes the TV. Okay. So yes, and then he runs into the cellar, and that's where it ends. I think this was like a 2-part series finale, like it was one night, a 2-hour season finale, because that's what it seems like. Whenever it says to be continued, I feel like it's 2 parts, But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But this episode is getting I'll give it a 4 Superman logos out of 5. this, in spite of the Chloe stuff, it was a pretty good episode. But our next one will be pretty good too. We shall see. But thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.